Fish have a reputation as being one of the healthiest meats on the planet, and even fish oil is becoming a hot topic within the health community. Not all fish are created equal, however, and there are certainly some that you would be better off leaving alone. It can sometimes be difficult to know what to look for in fish, but the best way is to look into what makes up the fish. Things like omega-3 and protein amounts are really important, and we will be going into things to look out for the next time you're in the mood for seafood. Today, we are covering the 5 fish you should never eat and 5 fish that you should eat instead. First, fish you should eat. Number 1, salmon. For the first fish in the good category, we are going to be covering the one that you probably already knew was good if you have watched any of the videos on this channel. Salmon is packed to the gills with good stuff, and the omega-3 fatty acids you can get out of a single serving of salmon can greatly improve your quality of life. Omega-3 has been linked to increased neural activity, heightened awareness, as well as helping out your skin and regulating your blood pressure. Salmon is often useful for people looking to limit their red meat intake and is often recommended by doctors for people suffering from cardiovascular issues. Number 2, trout. Another oily fish that is high in omega-3, trout doesn't get brought up as often as salmon, but still can get the job done in terms of filling you up as well as giving your body a boost. A study done recently found that eating just a 4-ounce serving of seafood high in omega-3 like trout can reduce your risk of heart disease by 36%. Trout is a pretty hearty fish and probably isn't quite as popular because its taste is a little bit more fishy. But it grows to be pretty big, and you can get a big slab of it for family dinners at most grocery stores. This fish is a really good dinner option because it is filling without being over the top, and a study found that people who ate trout are actually less likely to develop cognitive diseases like Alzheimer's. Rainbow trout in particular is a great option for people buying fish from the market or local grocery stores, since it is very low in contaminants and is one of the best fish you can eat in terms of environmental impact. Number 3, mackerel. A lot of people only know this fish because of the exclamation, "Holy mackerel." But that's a shame, since this aquatic animal can really help your body operate at peak function. This oily fish is, yes, filled with fatty acids that help your body function and can even help you lose weight, as some studies have shown. Mackerel is unlike a lot of fish because it is really heavy to eat and doesn't at all resemble the flaky whitefish that is often served. Mackerel is full of protein and is something that you can easily serve on its own without having to even add a side dish. Some kinds of mackerel should still be avoided if you have kids, as they are high in mercury levels that can be dangerous for them. The king mackerel is one such example, and so stick to the smaller but similar in flavor and nutrition Atlantic instead. High mercury fish can also affect women of childbearing age and pregnant women. And so, it's important to be mindful that certain subsets of species can vary wildly in their content. Number 4, perch. Perch is almost the polar opposite of mackerel in that it is a flaky fish that isn't commonly served on its own. In the Midwest of the United States, it is commonly fried and served with fries and tartar sauce, while in other parts of the world, it is often baked or grilled lightly. Perch is not super filling, at least not unless you eat a lot of it, but it makes up for that in how many nutrients it surprisingly holds. This fish is really good for your immune system, helping you better fight off bacteria and germs. It also has been linked to help improve your heart health and even boost your energy levels. Perch is a really popular fish too, so it shouldn't be that hard or expensive to cook up at home or even order at a restaurant. Surprisingly, most people don't seem to really conceptualize just how healthy perch is right now. But that could definitely change as more research continues to come out in support of the fish. Number 5, herring. Herring is a huge part of a Nordic diet, which, like the name implies, is based on the eating habits of the people from Nordic countries like Denmark and Sweden. The diet is basically a new take on the Mediterranean diet and revolves around hearty fish like the herring as the main source of protein. Herring is also the second highest in omega-3 on this list behind salmon, making it a really healthy fish that you can get a lot out of. This fish is also really high in vitamin D, something that has been linked to helping with symptoms of depression. Herring is usually found in cans, but sometimes, if you're lucky, can be ordered at restaurants too. Keep your eye out for herring, as it is available in most grocery stores in can form. Or, if you want the real thing, go down to your fish market and go hunting for this big old fish. Next, fish to avoid. Number 1, imported shrimp. Imported fish can be a dangerous trend, as we are going to get into shortly. Shrimp in particular can be toxic because it is a type of shellfish that largely sticks to the bottom of bodies of water. As a result, unless the shrimp has been inspected very well, it could have parasites, excessive mercury, or other things that you probably don't want to be eating. Shrimp in general can be kinda, excuse my pun, fishy, since there are a lot of ways that it can go wrong. But as long as you exercise caution and stay away from imported shrimp that has less regulations, you should be fine. Number 2, imported catfish. Eating imported catfish is a really risky proposition, and unfortunately a lot of people still do it without taking the risks into account. The catfish brought into the country is almost never checked for dirt or grime and passes inspection right from the boat to your kitchen table. This catfish can have human or rat hair or even insects, and you could very well be serving that to your family. First of all, in the case of the United States, almost 90% of imported catfish comes from Vietnam, which has a much laxer stance on antibiotic use than the US does. These antibiotics entering into your body can mess with your health, and it gets even worse. What they call imported catfish isn't even federally considered catfish in Vietnam, meaning that the fish gets an even less detailed inspection than usual. The best thing to do if you still love catfish is to buy domestic. And like all fish you eat, check to make sure that it is of proper quality before bringing it home and eating it. Number 3, sharks. Next up on our list is a food that is usually reserved for thrill seekers and people looking for an exotic experience. And that fish is the shark. The animal is incredibly important in its ecosystem, and by poaching it, you could be doing incredible harm to these oceanic ecosystems and causing communities to suffer. On top of that, shark meat has a toughness to it and isn't really worth the adventure of trying. It also has a lot of mercury compared to most fish, and that, as we covered, can be pretty dangerous. The same goes for rays, which suffer a similar issue that sharks do in that they both mate later in life. This means that you are most likely hunting an animal that hasn't even had the time to reproduce, hurting the food chain greatly. There are a lot of substitutes for shark meat if you want to try the flavor, but for many reasons it isn't worth the effort to try. Number 4, tuna. The reason to skip tuna is a bit different than the other options on this list. In the US, what is labeled tuna is oftentimes actually a combination of several kinds of fish, with all of them varying in quality. Food laws internationally also basically allow this practice to continue, and so even if you live outside the United States, you should try and beware of this super popular fish. The problem is that we have overfished tuna for years and are finally paying the consequences in terms of a high demand and very short supply. Tuna used to be a fish that was healthy for you, but now it is just not that trustworthy. The fact that tuna is padded by so many other cheaper fish means that it's hard to know what the mercury levels are like. And that lack of knowledge scares many in the scientific community. If you really want quality tuna, you may have to fork over more cash than you're comfortable with. And even then, it's hard to know if the quality is that much better. Number 5, American eel. You probably have eaten American eel before and didn't even know it. This type of eel is really popular in sushi, especially outside of Japan, where standards are a bit higher for the cuisine. American eel is really problematic, with high levels of mercury as well as PCBs. This compound that was really commonly found in Europe throughout the 60s and 70s is a known carcinogen. This means that it has been linked to causing cancer within the body. As a result, you should probably stay away from the fish and try to find a replacement. One such option is Pacific or Atlantic squid, which can be found in similar sushi dishes. Did any of these fish on this list shock you? Let us know in the comments down below. Here are 2 more videos you might find interesting. Feel free to choose the one you like. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like and share the video with your friends. And for more interesting videos on health, subscribe to the channel.